There's a reason your joints ache every morning. There's a reason you feel puffy and swollen by the end of the day. There's a reason you're exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep. And it all comes down to two foods that are sitting in your kitchen right now. Foods you probably ate today. Foods your doctor has never warned you about because most doctors don't connect the dots between what you eat and the chronic inflammation that's destroying your quality of life. I'm Dr. Harrison Wells, and I've spent the last 15 years studying inflammatory pathways in the human body. I've worked with thousands of patients who were told their inflammation was just part of getting older, just something they'd have to live with. But when we removed these two trigger foods from their diet, something remarkable happened. Within 7 days, the morning stiffness started to ease. The brain fog began to lift. The constant low-grade misery that had become their normal started to fade. But I'm not going to tell you what these two foods are just yet, because if I reveal them right now, you'll write them down and leave. You'll think you have the answer, but you don't have the complete answer. You need to understand what inflammation actually is, why it's happening in your body, and why these two specific foods are so devastating. You need to see what happens when someone removes them. You need the full picture before I tell you exactly what to eliminate from your kitchen tonight. Before I explain anything about these trigger foods, before I give you even a single clue, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your body right now. You need to know what chronic inflammation is doing to your cells, your tissues, your organs every single minute of every single day. Comment below if you wake up stiff, if your hands or feet swell during the day, if you feel tired no matter how much you sleep, or if you have any kind of ongoing pain that doctors can't fully explain. I need to see what people are experiencing because inflammation shows up differently in different bodies. Let me tell you about Sarah because her story is going to change how you think about food forever. Sarah was 53 when she first came to see me. She'd been dealing with joint pain for 5 years. It started in her knees, then spread to her hands, then her shoulders, then her hips. Every morning she woke up feeling like her body had been beaten with hammers during the night. It took her 20 minutes just to get out of bed, to get her joints moving enough that she could walk without wincing. Her doctor had run tests, rheumatoid factor, negative, lupus markers, negative. Her inflammatory markers were elevated. Her C-Reactive Protein was high, but there was no clear diagnosis. No rheumatoid arthritis, no lupus, no specific autoimmune disease, just inflammation, chronic, painful, life-destroying inflammation. Her doctor prescribed anti-inflammatory medication. It helped a little, took the edge off, but the pain was still there. The stiffness was still there. Sarah tried everything: physical therapy, acupuncture, supplements, yoga. Some things helped temporarily, but nothing actually solved the problem. She was frustrated, exhausted, depressed. She felt like she was trapped in a body that was betraying her. When Sarah came to my office, I asked her to do something her other doctors hadn't asked. I asked her to keep a detailed food diary for 2 weeks. Write down everything you eat, I told her. Everything, every meal, every snack, every drink. Be completely honest. Sarah kept the diary. When she brought it back, I saw exactly what I expected to see. Every single day, Sarah was eating the two trigger foods, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 3 times. These foods were creating a constant inflammatory cascade in her body, a relentless immune response that never turned off. I explained to Sarah what these foods were doing. I showed her the research. I asked her to eliminate them completely for 7 days. Just 7 days. No cheating, no exceptions, complete elimination. Sarah was skeptical. I've tried elimination diets before, she said. They never work. But she was desperate enough to try one more time. For the first 3 days, Sarah felt worse. This is normal, I told her. Your body is adjusting. The inflammation is actually ramping up briefly as your immune system recalibrates. Push through. Stay with it. On day 4, something shifted. Sarah woke up and realized she'd gotten out of bed without thinking about it. She hadn't needed those 20 minutes of painful movement. She'd just stood up. The stiffness was still there, but it was lighter, less aggressive. On day 5, the brain fog she'd been living with for years started to clear. She could think more sharply, focus more easily. On day 6, she noticed her hands weren't swelling in the afternoon like they usually did. Her rings fit normally. On day 7, Sarah sent me a text message. "I can't believe this is real. I feel like a different person. The pain isn't completely gone, but it's half of what it was. Maybe less than half. What were these foods doing to me?" What Sarah experienced in 7 days wasn't a miracle. It was basic biochemistry. It was the removal of constant inflammatory triggers that had been attacking her body multiple times a day for years. And now I'm going to start explaining why these two foods are so uniquely inflammatory, but I still haven't told you what they are. I need you to understand the mechanism first. Comment below how long you've been dealing with chronic pain or inflammation. Comment just the number of years. I want to see what people are living with. Let me explain what inflammation actually is, because most people don't really understand it. Inflammation is your immune system's response to a threat. When you cut your finger, your immune system sends white blood cells to the area. The area gets red, swollen, hot, painful. That's acute inflammation. It's temporary, it's protective, it's healing, but chronic inflammation is different. Chronic inflammation is when your immune system thinks there's a constant threat, so it keeps responding, keeps sending those inflammatory signals, keeps attacking day after day, week after week, year after year. And what's the threat? In many cases, it's food. It's specific foods that your body interprets as invaders, as dangerous, as something that needs to be fought. When you eat these trigger foods, here's what happens. They enter your digestive system. Your gut lining, which is supposed to be a barrier, starts to become more permeable. Small particles of these foods leak through the gut barrier into your bloodstream. Your immune system detects these particles and says, "This doesn't belong here. This is a threat." It launches an inflammatory response. Cytokines are released. Inflammatory markers spike. Your body goes into fight mode. And here's the critical part. If you're eating these foods every single day, multiple times a day, your immune system never gets to stand down. The inflammation never resolves. It becomes chronic. It becomes your new baseline. And chronic inflammation doesn't just cause pain, it causes fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, skin problems, digestive issues, mood problems, sleep problems. It's connected to heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, autoimmune conditions. Chronic inflammation is one of the root causes of almost every major disease we see in modern society. Now, there are many foods that can trigger inflammation in susceptible people. Gluten for some, dairy for others, nightshades, soy, eggs, nuts. But there are two foods that are inflammatory for almost everyone, two foods that consistently trigger this immune cascade, two foods that most people eat constantly without realizing the damage they're doing. And I'm about to tell you what they are, but first you need to understand why your doctor hasn't told you about this. Most doctors aren't trained in nutrition. In medical school, we get maybe 1 or 2 lectures on diet. The focus is on drugs, surgery, procedures. Food is treated as fuel, calories in and calories out, not as medicine or as poison. Most doctors don't make the connection between what you eat and your inflammatory markers. They see your elevated C-Reactive Protein, they see your joint pain, and they prescribe anti-inflammatory drugs. They don't ask what you're eating for breakfast. Also, these two foods are deeply embedded in our culture. They're convenient, they're everywhere, they're cheap, and entire industries are built around them. Suggesting that people eliminate them is controversial. It goes against mainstream dietary advice. It challenges powerful food lobbies. So even doctors who suspect these foods are problematic often don't speak up. They don't want to be seen as fringe or extreme. But the research is clear. The science is clear. These two foods are driving the inflammation epidemic, and removing them changes lives. Sarah's life changed. Let me tell you about David. David was 47, a construction worker. He'd been dealing with back pain for a decade. chronic, grinding pain that made every workday a battle. He'd tried everything: chiropractors, physical therapy, epidural injections, pain medication. Nothing worked long term. I asked David to eliminate the two trigger foods for 7 days. He was skeptical, but he tried it. By day 6, his back pain had decreased by 60%. He could work a full day without needing to stop and stretch every 20 minutes. He could sleep through the night without waking up in pain. David kept those foods out of his diet. A year later, he's still pain-free. He still works construction. He's 50 pounds lighter. His energy is incredible, all from removing 2 foods. Now you're desperate to know what these foods are. I can feel it. You want me to just tell you so you can go clean out your pantry, but I need you to understand one more thing. When you remove these foods, you might feel worse before you feel better. This is called the withdrawal phase or the adjustment period. For the first 2 to 4 days, you might experience headaches, fatigue, irritability, cravings, even increased inflammation. This is your body detoxifying, recalibrating. It's temporary. By day 4 or 5, you'll turn a corner. By day 7, you'll feel the difference. You have to push through those first few days. You have to commit fully. No cheating. Not even a little bit. Because even a small amount of these trigger foods can restart the inflammatory cascade. Comment below if you're ready to commit to 7 days, complete elimination, no exceptions. Comment committed if you're willing to do this. I want to see who's serious about changing their inflammation levels. Now I'm going to reveal the first trigger food. Are you ready? The first food is refined sugar. Not just white sugar, but all forms of refined sugar. High fructose corn syrup, cane sugar, brown sugar, agave, any concentrated sweetener that's been processed. When you consume refined sugar, your blood glucose spikes rapidly. This triggers an insulin response, but it also triggers something else. It activates inflammatory pathways called the NF-kappa B pathway. This is one of the master switches for inflammation in your body. Every time you eat refined sugar, you're flipping that switch on. You're telling your body to produce inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. These are the chemical messengers that create pain, swelling, redness, heat. But it gets worse. Refined sugar also feeds the bad bacteria in your gut. Your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your intestines, plays a massive role in inflammation. Good bacteria help regulate your immune system and reduce inflammation. Bad bacteria produce toxins called lipopolysaccharides that leak through your gut lining and trigger systemic inflammation. When you eat sugar, you're feeding the bad bacteria, helping them multiply, creating more toxins, more gut permeability, more inflammation. And sugar is everywhere. It's in bread, pasta sauce, salad dressing, yogurt, cereal, granola bars, protein bars, coffee drinks, soda, juice, flavored water. The average person consumes over 70 pounds of added sugar per year. 70 pounds of inflammatory trigger entering your body, spiking your glucose, activating NF-kappa B, feeding bad gut bacteria, creating a constant state of low-grade inflammation. Sarah was eating sugar all day long. Sweetened coffee in the morning, granola bar for a snack, sandwich on wheat bread with sweetened mayo for lunch, afternoon latte with flavored syrup, pasta with jarred sauce for dinner, dessert after dinner. Every single one of those items contained refined sugar. She was consuming probably 60 to 80 grams of added sugar daily, sometimes more. Her inflammation never had a chance to resolve. When she eliminated all refined sugar for 7 days, the change was dramatic. But sugar is only the first trigger food. The second one is even more insidious, even more widespread, and even more inflammatory. And most people have no idea they're sensitive to it. Before I reveal the second food, I need to explain something about modern food production. Over the last 50 years, our food supply has changed dramatically. We've hybridized crops to increase yield, to make them more resistant to pests, to make them easier to process and store. We've introduced chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, preservatives. We've created food-like products that didn't exist 100 years ago, and our bodies haven't adapted. Our immune systems are encountering proteins and compounds they don't recognize, and they're responding the only way they know how, with inflammation. The second trigger food is a perfect example of this. It's been so modified, so processed, so changed from its original form that our bodies literally don't know what to do with it. The second trigger food is modern wheat. Not ancient grains like einkorn or spelt, but modern hybridized wheat that's in virtually every processed food. The wheat we eat today is not the same wheat our grandparents ate. It's been bred to have much higher gluten content, to be easier to mill into fine flour, to create the fluffy texture people expect in bread and baked goods. But this modern wheat contains proteins that are highly inflammatory for many people, even people who don't have celiac disease. One of these proteins is called gliadin. Gliadin is a component of gluten. When you eat foods containing gliadin, it can trigger the release of a protein called zonulin in your gut. Zonulin opens up the tight junctions in your intestinal lining. This is how you get increased intestinal permeability, or leaky gut. Once those tight junctions are open, particles of food, bacteria, toxins can slip through into your bloodstream. Your immune system sees these particles and attacks. Inflammation spikes. But there's more. Modern wheat is heavily sprayed with a herbicide called glyphosate right before harvest. This is called desiccation. It dries out the wheat and makes harvesting easier. But glyphosate residues remain on the grain. When you consume wheat products, you're also consuming glyphosate. Glyphosate has been shown in research to disrupt the gut microbiome, killing beneficial bacteria and allowing harmful bacteria to proliferate. It also chelates minerals like magnesium and zinc, which are critical for immune function and inflammation control. So modern wheat is a triple threat. The gliadin protein triggers zonulin and leaky gut. The high gluten content provokes immune responses even in non-celiacs. And the glyphosate residues destroy your gut microbiome and deplete essential minerals. When you eat wheat-based foods multiple times a day, bread for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, crackers for snacks, you're creating a relentless inflammatory assault on your body. Sarah was eating wheat at almost every meal, toast in the morning, sandwich at lunch, pasta or pizza for dinner, cookies or crackers as snacks. She was consuming wheat 6, 7, 8 times a day. Her gut lining was constantly being compromised. Her immune system was constantly being activated. When she eliminated wheat completely, along with sugar, the inflammation finally had a chance to calm down. Her body could heal. The gut lining could repair. The immune system could reset. And that's when the pain started to melt away. Now comment below if you eat bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, baked goods on a regular basis. Comment yes or no. I want to see how many people are consuming wheat daily. Let me tell you about Margaret, because her story shows just how profound this change can be. Margaret was 61. She'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia 8 years earlier. Widespread pain, fatigue so severe she could barely get through the day, brain fog that made her feel like she was living in a haze. She'd tried every medication, Lyrica, Cymbalta, gabapentin, muscle relaxers, sleep aids. Nothing worked. The pain was still there. The fatigue was still crushing. She was on disability. She couldn't work. She could barely function. I asked Margaret to eliminate refined sugar and modern wheat for 7 days. She was doubtful. "I've changed my diet before," she said. "It never helps," but she agreed to try. The first 4 days were brutal. Headaches, fatigue even worse than usual, intense cravings for bread and sweets. But on day 5, something shifted. Margaret woke up and the pain was different. It wasn't gone, but it was quieter, less sharp, less overwhelming. By day 7, her energy had improved noticeably. She could get through the day without needing a nap. The brain fog was lifting. Margaret stayed off sugar and wheat. After 30 days, her fibromyalgia pain had decreased by 70%. After 60 days, she was off all medications. After 90 days, she went back to work part-time. After 6 months, she was working full-time again, living a normal life, doing things she hadn't been able to do in years. Her doctors were stunned. They couldn't explain it, but I could explain it. The chronic inflammation that had been causing her fibromyalgia was being driven by her diet. Remove the triggers, and the inflammation resolves. The pain resolves. The fatigue resolves. The brain fog resolves. Margaret's life came back, all from removing 2 foods. Now I need to give you the complete protocol, because it's not enough to just know what the trigger foods are. You need to know how to eliminate them properly, what to eat instead, how to handle the withdrawal phase, and how to maintain this long term. For the next 7 days, you are going to eliminate all refined sugar and all modern wheat products. That means no bread, no pasta, no cereal, no crackers, no cookies, no cakes, no pastries, no pizza, no sandwiches. That means no sugar, no honey, no agave, no maple syrup, no sweeteners of any kind except for very small amounts of whole fruit. You're going to eat real whole foods. Vegetables, lots of them. Protein from quality sources, grass-fed meat, wild-caught fish, pasture-raised eggs, organic chicken. Healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds. Some fruit, berries are best because they're lower in sugar. Ancient grains if you want grains, quinoa, rice, millet, but not wheat. And you're going to drink water, lots of water. No soda, no juice, no sweetened drinks. The first 3 days will be the hardest. You will crave bread. You will crave sugar. You might get headaches. You might feel tired. This is withdrawal. Your body is addicted to these foods, and it's going to protest when you take them away. Push through, drink extra water, get extra sleep, take walks. The cravings will pass. By day 4, you'll start to feel different, more clear, lighter. By day 7, you'll know this is working. Your inflammation will start to drop. Your pain will ease. Your energy will return. After 7 days, you can decide what to do next. Some people choose to stay completely off these foods because they feel so much better. Some people reintroduce small amounts occasionally and find they can tolerate it in moderation. Some people discover that wheat is their main trigger and sugar is fine in small amounts or vice versa. You'll learn what your body needs. But those first 7 days are critical. Complete elimination, no exceptions, not even a bite, not even a taste. Because even a small amount can restart the inflammatory cascade and you'll have to start over. Comment 7 days if you're committing to this right now. Comment if you're going to start tomorrow morning. I want to see who's taking action. Let me also tell you about Robert, because his story shows what happens when you don't commit fully. Robert was 55, dealing with severe arthritis in his knees. I asked him to eliminate sugar and wheat for 7 days. He agreed. But on day 3, he had a slice of pizza at a work lunch. Just one slice, he thought. It won't matter. But it did matter. His knee pain, which had started to improve, came roaring back that night. He was discouraged. He thought the diet wasn't working. I explained that he'd restarted the inflammatory process. He needed to start over, do the full 7 days with no cheating. Robert tried again. This time he was strict. No exceptions. By day 7, his knee pain had improved by 50%. He kept going. After 30 days, he was walking without limping. After 60 days, he was hiking again. Robert learned that consistency matters. Commitment matters. Now I need to address what will happen after 7 days because this isn't just a 7-day experiment. This is about understanding your body, understanding what triggers your inflammation, and making informed choices going forward. After 7 days, if you want to test whether wheat is your trigger, you can reintroduce it for 1 day. Eat wheat-based foods and see what happens. If your symptoms come roaring back within 24 to 48 hours, you know wheat is a major trigger for you. If nothing changes, maybe wheat isn't your problem. Then you can test sugar the same way. Reintroduce it for a day and observe. This is called an elimination and reintroduction protocol, and it's the gold standard for identifying food sensitivities. Most people find that both sugar and wheat are problematic. Some people find that wheat is the bigger issue. A few people find that sugar is worse, but almost everyone feels significantly better when both are removed. And here's the beautiful part. After 7 days off these foods, your taste buds change. Your cravings change. Foods that used to taste bland now taste vibrant. Vegetables taste sweet. Nuts taste rich. You don't miss the bread and sugar as much as you thought you would. Your body recalibrates. It remembers what real food tastes like. Let me tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer was 42, struggling with chronic sinus infections and post-nasal drip. She'd been on antibiotics 4 times in 1 year. Her ENT doctor wanted to do sinus surgery. I asked her to try eliminating sugar and wheat first. She thought I was crazy. What does my diet have to do with my sinuses? Everything, I told her. Chronic sinus inflammation is often driven by food sensitivities and sugar-feeding yeast overgrowth. Jennifer eliminated both foods for 7 days. By day 5, her sinuses started to clear. By day 10, the post-nasal drip was gone. By day 30, she hadn't had a single sinus infection. A year later, still no infections, no surgery needed. Her chronic inflammation was being driven by her diet, and when she removed the triggers, her body healed. I also want to talk about the connection between inflammation and weight, because many people who eliminate these 2 foods lose significant weight without trying. Sarah lost 18 pounds in the first month. David lost 50 pounds in 6 months. Margaret lost 32 pounds. They weren't counting calories. They weren't restricting portions. They just removed inflammatory trigger foods, and their bodies released the weight naturally. Here's why. Chronic inflammation causes insulin resistance. When your cells are inflamed, they don't respond properly to insulin. Your body has to produce more and more insulin to manage blood sugar. High insulin levels signal your body to store fat, especially around your midsection. High insulin also blocks your body's ability to burn stored fat for energy. So you gain weight and you can't lose it no matter how little you eat or how much you exercise. When you remove inflammatory triggers, insulin sensitivity improves. Your cells respond to insulin normally again. Insulin levels drop. Your body can finally access stored fat for energy. The weight comes off naturally. Also, inflammation causes water retention. When your tissues are inflamed, they hold on to excess fluid. This is why people often look puffy and swollen. When you reduce inflammation, that excess fluid is released. People often lose 5 to 10 pounds of water weight in the first week just from reduced inflammation. Then the fat loss follows. But weight loss is just a side effect. The real benefit is how you feel. The pain reduction, the energy increase, the mental clarity, the improved sleep, the better mood. These are the changes that matter most. The weight loss is a bonus. Comment below if you're also dealing with stubborn weight that won't come off no matter what you try. I want to see how many people are struggling with inflammation-driven weight gain. Now let me give you some practical tips for surviving the first 7 days, because I know this seems overwhelming. First, plan ahead. Go through your kitchen tonight. Remove all bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, cookies, anything with wheat. Remove all sugar, honey, syrups, sweetened drinks. If it's not in your house, you can't eat it in a moment of weakness. Second, stock up on compliant foods. Buy lots of vegetables, salad greens, proteins, eggs, avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, berries. Have these foods ready so you always have something to eat. Third, prepare simple meals. This doesn't have to be complicated. Eggs and vegetables for breakfast. Salad with protein for lunch. Grilled meat or fish with roasted vegetables for dinner. Keep it simple. Fourth, drink tons of water. Aim for half your body weight in ounces. If you weigh 160 pounds, drink 80 ounces of water daily. This helps flush out toxins and reduces withdrawal symptoms.